We're standing back here in the garage, and I just remembered this little trick that I had tried. We've been looking at parts for my new build and wondering where I got them and all this sort of stuff and why I made the choices that I did. And I want to repeat myself that the last two engine builds I did for myself, I had trouble getting the Helix cam gears to work right. And back then, I swore that the next one I built was going to have straight cut cam gears, because that's what I have in my 1776. And it's lasted all these years on the street and in the sand. And that one had an aluminum cam gear and a steel crank gear, and they warned back then that they would be noisy, and the aluminum steel was a combination that didn't make it so bad. But my hearing has gotten so bad, I thought the heck with it, and I saw our friend in Florida building his new engine, even though it's a race engine, and I knew that, but I saw him going with a straight cut gear, and I didn't catch who it was made by, whatever, and I'm looking for parts. And you know, you buy parts here and you buy parts from there. If you start shopping around different places, you got to pay those shipping charges, and that's where they get you. They got good prices on stuff, but they always nail you on that shipping. And I pay like $20, $40, and you buy $100 part here and $100 rest of a part there because the first company's out of stock, or you like the brand or the name, and you got to pay another $25 shipping there. It starts adding up. So I saw this one at the AA site, and it looked as good as anything else. But last night I was dinking around, and I remember I did the ring test, you know, with the crankshafts, where I had the crankshaft hanging here and I tapped on it and it would ring. I want you to listen to this cam gear. Alright, that is a true steel chromoly cam gear. Now, the crank side of that, listen to this. Isn't that crazy? If you tap the one above and the bottom one, and that's the way it has to be. The lower one is cast, the top one is hard steel. I learned this from a career of working around moving parts and bearings and in machine-related situations throughout my career. And the reason is you can't have two hard metals against each other. In high school shop class, they would tell you, you don't ever strike two hammer faces together, because it will chip and you'll lose an eye. It'll go in your eye. Don't ever strike two hammer faces together. That's one of the first things in basic shop safety they told us, because there's two hard surfaces. Now, you can hammer on a chisel, but the head of the chisel is made softer so that it won't shatter. See, there's difference about strength. You can make something so hard that it becomes brittle, but you still need the hardness sometimes for wear, and there's more teeth on the cam gear. You're going to have more wear because the bottom one, the crankshaft, is going to turn twice as much as the cam gear. You'd think that one would be the one that they want to have on the hard, but you see that hardened large gear, and I'm just thinking this through on my own. Nobody told me, and I didn't read this in a book. That large hard cam gear is attached to a cast iron camshaft. So you got a hard metal and a soft metal, and that is going to help with harmonics. What you're listening to here is basic harmonics. Right here. This is a good school. Right there. That's hard steel, and that noise that you hear is harmonics. And now what you got down here is a cast iron gear on a hard crankshaft. I got a chromoly steel crankshaft. So the camshaft is killing the vibration and the frequency. And this cast gear is not transmitting what's coming through the crankshaft. Does that make sense? You understand where I'm coming from here? And cast things, just like when you drop a camshaft on the floor, it'll break off. That's why guys are losing this crankshaft side of the timing gears. Now, as I was looking for this set of gears, I'm shopping, I'm looking for prices, and I want to show you what's plain out there in plain sight for everybody to see. Check this out. This is my new girlfriend. Yeah, my 5th grandchild. Unfortunately, she's 1,200 miles away. And while you guys are having your garage gang get together in May, I'm going to be holding my little girl. And I can't wait to do it. I miss not being there with you guys, but gotta do what I gotta do. What do I want to do here? Okay, we're at Air-Cooled Net website, and we're looking at some here's a bug pack straight cut cam gear for $189. Now, I want to read this to you. I don't know if you can read it along with me here. The second paragraph right here. It says, regarding bug pack straight cut cam gears, billet steel. It removes the thrust load off the cam bearings. Now, make sure during gear installation that you check a couple of things prior to installing the crank gear onto the crankshaft. Sometimes the Woodruff key is too wide or the slot in the crankshaft is too narrow. This causes the crank to swell when the key is hammered into the crank. Then the gear is too tight next to the gear. This is a common cause of gear cracking at the keyway, or the more common not known problem of elliptical crank gears, which shows as the cam gear has a serious tooth wear in 2 locations 180 degrees from one another on the soft aluminum gear. Soft aluminum? I don't see it as soft aluminum. It looks like it's, to me, like it's steel on steel. Okay, let's just read on here. Make absolutely sure that the crankshaft does not measure larger on either side next to the Woodruff key after the key is installed to avoid this serious build issue. So basically what they're saying, we know cast iron, if you drop it, it can break. It's brittle. If it just doesn't have the integrity to take the hit. It's brittle. It's cast. That's why cast cranks aren't as strong as forged steel cranks. They are strong enough to do the job to a point, but when you reach their limit, they will crack, they will shatter. Even temperature, if the crankshaft expands at a different rate than the gear, then you can have a problem with that. Now, the Woodruff key, let's go look at that. Alright, this is a Woodruff key. A straight key is just that, it's straight. Woodruff key is kind of aluminum, or rounded like this, half moon is what I call it. So, this is the crankshaft that was in this engine before I took it apart. Now, this Woodruff key has to fit in this, and this is the area where that cam gear has to go over this. Now, this one fits in here pretty good. I would like it a little bit tighter. I have seen hammer marks on these things where people hammer them in there, and that's what they're talking about in that book. And you can see punch marks, and I don't know if that was me or somebody else. A lot of times these are set down deep, and they take a set, and the way to get it out is you punch it down this end, and it will push it down in there, and it will roll out. Now, let's hang on here. Okay, here is the gear that we were just looking at, and here is, see how this fits? If you beat this thing up and it doesn't slide in here, you don't want it to, it's got to fit correctly. You can sand it, you can file on it, you can do whatever you have to do, but it needs to fit in there. And this is a nice sliding back and forth fit. And your cam gear is going to be held in position by spacers that go on here. And the new crankshaft, where's that? Let's go look at that. Here's my new chromoly counterweighted crankshaft. Now, let's see how it fits in here. Okay, this is fresh. It's never had anything in it. See how it's a friction fit. I'm going to have to tap that down. A lot of guys tap that in. Then they heat up that other side of that cam gear that goes on the crankshaft, the cast one, and they'll pound it on here. If they don't get where they want, they beat it on. They force it into position. So without the thing on, without it running, you've created a stress point in that cast iron. Now, as it's running and you get harmonics and you get vibration and you get heat, it's going to take its toll. And if you have internally cracked it, I'll give you another example. My Lightning, it comes from the factory with a 5.4 supercharged Ford engine. It has sintered metal connecting rods. That is a upgrade from a casting type of a situation. Those rods will let go at 450 pounds. 450 horsepower, not pounds. 450 horsepower, they say those rods are good to. Now, they also say that if you put in a, what was it, the forged I-beam, H-beam, Manley, whoever the hell, connecting rods, you can run a lot more horsepower. But it also is, there's documentation that says at 50,000 miles, you compare the bearing from the sintered rod to the forged connecting rod, the tolerances will be better, longer on the sintered rod. But at a certain point, you're going to lose it. If you go beyond its design limits, you're going to lose it. So, I don't know if I got a good connecting, timing gear set or not. I did buy it from AA. I was buying some other stuff, tried to save some shipping charges, saw that, looked light, thought I'd try it. Not telling anybody else that they have to do it. So anyhow, we're back here in the garage, and we did the little dingy test on the timing gears. This set was purchased from AA because I bought a bunch of other stuff from them. I've been running the AA pistons in my 2-liter for a couple of years now with no problems, and I wasn't aware that other people were having problems. There's another local builder who does it for a living in my town of Loveland, and he uses AA products, and that's kind of what helped me when he told me he was having good luck with their heads, and I had just had a bad experience with my heads and was sharing it with him. He told me that try these, they work great, and he's been putting them in his cars, and so I said, okay, I guess so. I didn't hear anything negative about it. But here's that Woodruff key, and it says on that website, air-cooled net, that you don't want to pound this thing in there and create a stress riser on your crankshaft that's going to push up against that timing gear that's made out of cast material. So you've got a hard chromoly material, then you've got a cast. That's going to help deaden some of the transmission, just like when we were hitting it. That's going to take some of that ding out of it. And I'm sure you're still going to get harmonics with certain types of springs in certain conditions with certain engines, and you're going to have breakage. But I remember reading in the blue books, the Gene-Berg blue books, that on all of his well-known pick-of-the-litter products, that there was going to be issues, and if you bought your products for him, he would stand behind them. Very cool guy, had good products. Everything I bought from him bolted right on, worked as good if not better than Volkswagen stuff, and never could get that through to my friends on the sand. They thought I was just throwing my money away. I could have bought stuff cheaper, and when shit breaks and wears out, that's the cost of having fun. Just go get another one. So I hope nobody's basing their build on what I'm doing, you're getting the best of both worlds here. You're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting the budget build and you're getting the high-end build. And wherever you fall in there, this all is benefiting you. It's great. You are the lucky dog. I didn't have these kinds of learning experiences. I had to spend my own money out of my own pocket.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for subbing. TheEZGZ out.